Hi everyone, and welcome to Chapter 18, Go All-in-One Computer Concepts and Applications. In this video you will study Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 and learn how it is a versatile business tool to help you create presentations. You will also learn how to insert and format a variety of PowerPoint objects. Here is a list of the chapter objectives. As you can see, the chapter contains 3 parts, Part A, B, and C. There are corresponding simulation training activities, so be sure to complete those before attempting the greater project that we are going to do in this video lecture. Now, most students are familiar with PowerPoint, so this chapter is usually an enjoyable experience. And PowerPoint is presentation software, and learning PowerPoint is important because good presentation skills enhance your communication, whether it's electronic, written, or interpersonal. And in our technology-enhanced world, communicating ideas clearly and concisely is a critical personal skill. All right, so let's get started. So as you can see, I've already went ahead and downloaded my files, and this is the file that we are instructed to begin with. I've already printed out the instructions, so I have a hard copy of the instructions next to me, and so I'm ready to go. So as we mentioned, step number 1 is opening the file, and we've completed that. Step number 2 is a find and replace. So just like Microsoft Word, it's going to be located on the Home tab in the Editing group, and because I want to do both find and replace, I'm going to choose the replace option. Now, they would like to replace all the occurrences of the word north to northern. So I'll go ahead and place in the find what north, and I want that replaced with the word northern. And because I want it for the entire document, I'm going to say replace all, and it tells me it finds 2 occurrences. So we see it on the title page, and then it looks like on page, well, on the title slide I should say, and then on slide number 2. Now we're done with this particular tool, so we can go ahead and close that out. So that was step number 2. Oh, one more thing with step number 2, they want us to change the layout of the first slide. All right, so in my slides group, there's an options for layouts. And the layout they ask this to be changed to is a title slide. So I'm going to go ahead and select that particular slide layout. Notice off to the right, this is a new feature of PowerPoint. We get some design ideas. We're not going to take any of these recommendations, so we're simply going to close that option out. Alright, so step number 3, we're going to change our theme, and our theme is going to be located on our Design tab and in the group called Themes. Notice as you choose the down arrow, you get a gallery of themes. As you hover over, you get that live preview, and if you stay there long enough, you're going to see the name of the theme itself. Now, the theme that we are asked to change this particular presentation to is called Ion, and that's in the first row, the last column. I'm go ahead and select that option. Now, we're not going to take that default color option. We want to choose one of its variants, and the variant that we would like to choose is that blue one, which is that second option that we have there. Okay, so that was step number 3. Step number 4, we want to change the size of our slides to a widescreen. Alright, so this is going to be under the Customize option. There's going to be an option under Slide Size. Our standard is a 4:3 ratio, but we would like a wide, so that's a 16:9. And again, we had that little tip come up when we chose the variants, but now once we changed our slide size, it kind of got kicked out. So, and we're okay with that because we just want to see our slides. Okay, so we can now move on to step number 5. So we want to make slide number 2 the active slide, and we want to reuse slides that we had from another presentation. In order to do that, we need to go back to our Home tab, and in the Slides group there is a tool called Reuse Slides. I'll go ahead and select that, and we have options whether to search, or you'll notice that it found some content that we may want. Again, this is a newer feature, so you may or may not see this, right, depending upon the version of 2019 that you are using. All right, so but we're going to go ahead and browse for this. So I'm going to select Browse, and I have this folder on my desktop. I have it in Chapter 18, so go and locate where you downloaded your files to. The presentation that we're going to be getting this slide from is called P18J_slides. So I'm going to select that and then say Choose Content. And what it does is it loads all the slides of that presentation into the Reuse Slide pane. Now, notice this is not a very large presentation. There's only 3 slides. So they've asked us to insert slide number 2 and slide number 3. However, before I officially insert them, I want to make sure that I uncheck the source formatting. I don't want to have the formatting of what I see here. I want my formatting to look like my presentation. So I want to make sure I uncheck that option. And next we will then select slide 2 and then slide 3 to our presentation. Now that we're done working with the Reuse Slide pane, again, I like to maximize my real estate on my screen, so I'm going to go ahead and close out that pane. Step number 6, we're going to work with slide number 2, and they mention about the slide pane or an outline pane. Now, in order to see an outline pane, you need to go to the View tab and choose Outline, and then you see all the text rather than the visual. All right, so by default we're in a normal view or a slide view. Okay, so in any event, we're working on slide number 2, and we want to go to the end of that first bullet right after time, and we want to add the words for viewing. All right, so that should read best time for viewing. And the best time for viewing is late fall and early spring, between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. Right? So these 2 bullets we're now going to select because we actually want to increase the indent. We want these to be indented below that first bullet. So we're going to go back to our Home tab, and in the paragraph group we're going to select Increase Indent List Level. Okay? All right, so we've completed step number 6. Step number 7, we are still working here in slide 2, and we are going to select our title. So we're going to select the title. Now, I like to select the placeholder itself. You could click and drag. All right. Notice if you look real closely, the placeholder has like a broken line. If I select the placeholder itself, that broken line becomes a solid line, and I no longer need to click and drag because I've selected the placeholder. And that's just a preference that I have when I'm working. So I like to select the placeholder. So with that selected, I want to go ahead and change my font size to 32. It's currently set at 42, and I will just use that reduce, or what is it called? It's officially called decrease. All right, and I'll stop when I get to size 32. Now I want to add some notes to this particular slide, so I'm going to drag this up here, and down in the Notes pane I'm going to add the following note. Okay, the lights reach their peak in September and March. All right, and remember to include a period at the end of your sentence there. All right, so we've completed step number 7. Step number 8, we're going to now move on to slide number 3. And we want to select this paragraph of text. So again, I like to select the placeholder And we're going to make several changes here. So with that selected, I want to change my color, the font color, and they ask us to choose in that last column the third option, which is a green accent 6 lighter 60%. And then we're going to increase the font size to from 14 to 16, and then we want to bold. All right, so we've just made some formatting changes with the font. Next, we're going to move to step number 9, and now we're going to be working with the paragraph, some of our formatting with the paragraph itself. So we would like this to be 1.5 spaces. So I'll go to the line spacing tool and select 1.5. And I would also like this paragraph to be centered. So I'll go ahead and choose the center option. And I also want my title to be centered. So I'll go ahead and select my title there, and then in that paragraph group, choose the center option. Step number 10. I'm now going to move over, still on slide 3, I'm now going to select that image that I see here on the right, and I'm going to format this picture by selecting a picture style called Soft Edge Rectangle. So notice as I select that, I get my Picture Tools contextual tab that appears. I need to click under the option. I need to activate that particular ribbon for my Picture Tools, so I need to select Format, and this is where I'm going to find my picture styles. So I'll go ahead and look at the gallery of options, and the format they ask me to select is a Soft Edge Rectangle, and I believe it's right here, at the end of the first row. So just hover over and make sure that it says Soft Edge Rectangle. I'll go ahead and select that. And then I'm not quite done yet. I want to go over to the Adjust column under the Artistic Effects, and I want to find the artistic effect that's called Marker. So again, hover over until you locate it. It happens to be the second option in that first row. Alright, so that is step number 10. Now I'm going to move on to number 11, and which asks me to select slide number 4. And in this content placeholder off to the right, this is what we call these objects. It's a content placeholder. And the reason we call it a content placeholder is because it holds content, right? So we can see right there at the top, we could simply add a bullet list. But if we hover over some of our options here, down below, we can see that we have other options, right? So we could insert a table, a chart, some smart art, pictures, online pictures, and some video. So we have some options. They are asking us to insert a picture. So this picture is what we downloaded, right? So I'm going to again go to the file where I downloaded everything. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and look at chapter 18, and this is the image. That's the image they would like me to insert in that placeholder. So I'm going to go ahead and say Insert, and we place that image in the placeholder. And we want to apply, this is going to have an effect, a reflected rounded rectangle. So I'll go up to my Picture Styles gallery, and I'm going to hover over till I find the one that says Reflected Round Rectangle. Reflected Rounded Rectangle, there it is. And I'll select that option. Okay, so step number 12. We are going to move some slides around, right? I'm going to get rid of this design ideas, right? Every once in a while it's going to keep popping up. So if you don't want it there, just simply close it out. I want to move, they're asking me to make slide number 3 up here. So we simply do a drag and drop. So I'm going to click on the slide, and I'm going to drag up to the top between slides 1 and 2, and then simply release. Alright, step number 13. I'm going to move down to slide number 4, and I'm going to insert a new slide. This is going to be on my Home tab in my Slides group. There's an option for New Slide, but if I know the layout, I want to choose the arrow down below, and they specifically ask me for a section header. So I'm going to select that option for my new slide. Now in the title area here, it's going to read Visit Fairbanks and View the Northern Lights. Make sure there's an exclamation point at the end. And then we want to go to the placeholder at the bottom. And this is going to say with Kodiak West Travel. All right, so we have added on our 5th slide. Step number 14, we're going to put in a transition. Now transitions are how we move from one slide to the next. So I want to go up to my Transitions tab, and the transition they ask me to insert is called Uncover. So I need to go through and look at all the different transitions, and they're all named, and there you go, there's Uncover. I'm going to select Uncover. Notice as I select that transition, I now have this little icon that tells me that something is happening on this particular slide. Now with each of our transitions, each transition has effects depending upon the type of transition. Now this particular transition has several different options for effects. Alright, so we can see the different ways that we can uncover. Alright, they ask us to choose from the top. We're not quite done yet. We want to change the duration from 3/4 of a second to 1.25 seconds. Right? And then we want to make sure that we apply this to all of them. If I don't choose Apply to All, it'll only be applied to that one slide. And once I say Apply to All, I now see that Effects option has been applied to each of the slides. So if I wanted to go ahead and preview this from the beginning, and I'm clicking through, and it is moving from one slide to the next from the top. All right, step number 15. Now in step number 15, we're going to put in a header and footers. So I want to go to my Insert tab, and I want to go to the text group and select Header Footers. And notice in here we have Slide and Notes and Handouts. I want to make sure I select Notes and Handouts because I don't want these to appear on my presentation as I'm presenting them, but I would like my audience to have them in their handout. So I would like to include the date and time. I want to make sure that there is a check mark in there for the page number, and the footer that is going to be on my handouts is 18J underscore Northern Lights. Northern underscore and then lights. And I want that to appear on all of my notes and handouts that I'm going to be giving to my audience. So I'll say Apply to All. Now again, remember we put that on the Notes and Handouts page, so I'm not seeing it here on my presentation. If I do a File and Print, and I want to preview, right? So again, I'm previewing, but look, I'm in the preview of my slides, my full page slides. I would need to change that to Notes pages. All right, so there is that footer that we inserted. There's the page number, and there's the date. All right, so we need to change what it is that we're going to be printing, because by default, it's going to want to print full page slides. All right, so you can see some options. There is the outline view. This is a common one, putting 6 slides on a page. And again, notice the headers and footers appear on Notes and Handouts. But if I go to my full page slide, I'm not going to see them here. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and step number 16, we're going to put in some keywords. Right, so I go to my properties. If I need to, I'll show all properties, and under my tags, I'm going to type in Northern Lights and Fairbanks. Okay, so go ahead and save your file if you haven't done so already. Hopefully you've saved it. All right, I always like to put in my last name, just makes it easier for me to find this file so I don't accidentally submit the wrong file. And we've completed this activity, so please go and upload this to the grader in Canvas. I'm sorry, to the grader in MyLab. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Remember, the best way to get me is through the Canvas inbox. And I hope you found this step-by-step video helpful in completing this week's activity. Thank you.